Hey, have you ever tried eating 1,200 calories a day or doing one of those super low calorie meal plans and you end up binging on the weekends or late at night, feeling frustrated and wondering why this fat loss thing just isn't working? If so, you're in the right place. This video is for you. The thing is, I see this all the time. People opt for low calorie meal plans or they cut their calories way too freaking low, thinking that this is gonna, skyrocket my weight loss. This is the only way to lose weight. And what happens? Well, hunger kicks in and cravings skyrocket. And before you know it, you're elbow deep in cookies or cake or ice cream, if you're me. Feeling like you failed yet again. So today I'm going to actually show you why the 1,200 to 1,500 calorie diets don't work long term. Now I'm not saying that you may not have to touch in that calorie zone for just a minute or two at the end of your fat loss phase, but what I'm going to show you is what you should actually be doing instead. And at the end, I'm going to send you my calculator that is specific to creating your own fat loss formula. So you can start losing fat without starving yourself. And the cool thing is, this calculator is awesome. It's going to give you your exact fat loss formula blueprint, which is going to give you your exact calories, what you need for fat loss, your maintenance calories, and it's going to tell you your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fat so that you have a perfect macro blend or balance, if you will. So if you're watching live, if you don't mind, go ahead and hit the fire emoji in the comments. If you're catching the replay, go ahead and type in hashtag replay just so that I know you're here. If you want to let me know where you're watching, that's awesome. I love to kind of find out where people are watching as well. With that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and dive into the problems and I'm going to give you some solutions. So problem number one is that when you do these low calorie diets, you need to know that your body is going to fight you back. When you eat too little, your body basically kind of freaks out. It's going to slow the metabolism, it's going to increase your hunger hormones, and it makes you crave high calorie foods. This is why the 1,200 calorie dieters often binge on the weekends. It's literally a survival response. And what normally happens, what I see is that the low calorie dieters, they'll show me like, Lance, I can't figure out why I'm not, losing weight. I'm eating 1,200 calories a day. This should be more than low enough to see fat loss. And if I have them track their food, I'll look at it and it might be like, it'll look like this: Monday, 1,200, Tuesday, 1,178, Wednesday, 1,250, Thursday, 1,300, Friday, 1,800, Saturday, 2,100, Sunday, 2,200, Monday, 1,200. So are you really averaging 1,200 when you're doing that? No, but if you are, you're really going to be doing what is known you're slowing down your metabolism through a process known as adaptive thermogenesis or metabolic adaptation. And what happens is that low calorie dieting is going to send a signal to your body to down-regulate those calories. And the main thing is that if your body is down-regulating those calories like that, it means that you're going to be burning fewer calories doing the same things that you've done before. So what this means is that if you've gone, let's say on a treadmill for 20 minutes and you normally just burn 200, 250 calories, your body is smart enough to figure out how to make you burn, instead of 250 calories, 200, 175, somewhere around there, in order to conserve energy, because it knows that you are giving it much fewer calories even though you're asking it to do the same thing. Hopefully you can still hear me. I just heard my mic go out on this, but it looks like it's working. So drop a comment below if you cannot hear me for some reason. So the main thing is that you want to get yourself out of survival response if you want to actually have sustainable fat loss. Problem number two, you lose muscle instead of fat. Now, this is a huge one. Extreme dieting does not just burn fat, it burns muscle. And this is why a lot of times what I'll see is people will lose way too much LBM, lean body mass. And they start to wonder, why? I don't understand what's happening. Well, if you cut your calories at extreme like that, especially if you're not getting enough protein, your body is not going to be protecting or conserving or preserving, really, the lean body mass that it has on it. Well, your lean body mass is more metabolically active, meaning that it's going to burn more calories at rest and when you're working out compared to body fat. So we want to lose body fat, but this is my problem with people who are only focused on the scale. You're excited because you just lost 4 pounds. But again, if you're doing this low calorie dieting thing, how much of that 4 pounds that you lost was actually water weight and lean body mass? That means you're going to be slowing down your metabolism. So when you lose muscle, your metabolism always slows even more, and it makes fat loss harder over time. So you find yourself struggling to lose body fat, and then over time, you don't lose anything at all. And it's just, again, it's an adaptive situation. Problem number 3 is that it's not sustainable. Have you ever met somebody who happily eats 1,200 or 1,500 calories a day forever? I've never met him. 20 years this year of doing fitness coaching. I have never had a client who is at 1,200 calories that's like, this is good. I just don't even need more. They're always like, fix me. What do I do? I can't figure this out. I'm dying. And they're miserable. The reason most people fail is because they pick diets they can't actually stick to, or a calorie intake they can't stick to. Has this ever happened to you? Drop a yes in the comments if you've ever tried a super low calorie diet or a meal plan and you ended up binging later. For me, I can tell you, I've done the low calorie. I've never done 1,200 calories. But as a 6 foot tall man over 200 and something pounds, I've done 1,900 and I felt miserable, absolutely miserable. So the thing is that how do we lose fat without starving, without being in this survival mode then? If 1,200 calories isn't the answer, what is? Well, I'm glad you asked. Most people need way more than 1,200 calories. For a female, your basal metabolic rate, which is also known as your resting metabolic rate, that's usually 1,200 or 1,500 calories alone. That means that that's the amount of calories that you need in order to maintain your body weight. If you were a total couch potato, you didn't do any activity whatsoever. So obviously, if you're going lower, or if you're hitting your basal metabolic rate, your BMR or your RMR, or going lower than that, your body is not going to allow you to burn more fat. It's just not going to. We need to make sure that your calorie deficits are safe and they're higher than your resting metabolic rate. Now, again, this is not a Lance thing that it's like, oh, well, Lance said. No, this is like, I've worked with dietitians and nutritionists. I am myself, I've been nutrition certified. I'm a nutrition specialist for 17, 18 years, and I continue to get more and more education. But the reason I say this is because some people are like, well, if you're just coming from a fitness training background, you don't really know. Well, I'm totally with you. I totally get that. But this is not just coming from me. This is my own 2 decades of experience, along with having partnered many, many times with dietitians and nutritionists. And that's one of the first rules that they teach is never go lower than your resting metabolic rate. It's just not going to be healthy for you, and you're not going to actually be able to find this sustainable and keep with it. So the very first thing you need to do is find your real fat loss calories. So I have a free calculator, what we call, what allows you to get your body fat formula. And it's going to tell you the exact fat loss numbers, your calories, your maintenance numbers, and it's going to tell you your exact macros that you need. And you can get it completely free by DMing or commenting with the word blueprint. Blueprint, all one word, and I'm going to send you the link. Now, again, if you comment, I'm going to have to DM you, so you got to reply to the DM, otherwise you're not going to get that. So make sure you do that. It's funny how often that'll happen where people are like, oh, I want that. And then I'm like, hey, cool, if I DM you, crickets, nothing. So make sure that you do reply, otherwise I'm not going to send it. I want to make sure it gets in the hands of people who are actually going to use this. It's taken me a good amount of time to build this. This is something I built for my actual private clients, so you're going to get it for free. Second thing, once we know your fat loss calories, you've got to eat enough protein and fiber to stay full, and protein and fiber are the most thermogenic of all of the foods, okay? What does that mean, thermogenic? Well, what this means, putting simply, is that when you eat protein, the digestion process and the nutrient delivering process is going to burn calories. About 28 to 30% for protein, somewhere around 20 to 24% for fiber, only about 2 to 4% for regular carbs and fats. So when you're eating more protein and more fiber, you're automatically, instantly burning more calories. That's awesome. And again, it's going to keep you feeling fuller, more satiated, more satisfied. It does so many different things, not to mention the muscle. The list goes on and on when it comes to protein. So do you need as much as what a lot of bodybuilders, the 200, 300 grams a day? Absolutely not. What I'm going to recommend is that you aim on eating 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. So if you're a woman weighing 160 pounds, you want to weigh 120, you're going to eat 120 grams of protein. If you're a guy, you weigh 260, you want to weigh 200, you're going to aim for about 190 to 200 grams of protein. Very, very simple. For your fiber, really simple, 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. This is going to keep you full and prevent cravings. Hopefully this is making sense. Step 3, this is what's going to give you a little bit more of the enjoyment. This is why my program is called Joyfully Fit 365, because you get fit joyfully. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it's true. And you stay there 365 days a year. Doesn't require willpower, doesn't require discipline, because you've got flexibility. And that's my whole approach. Flexible, 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 so that you enjoy what you're doing. And when you enjoy what you're doing, there's nothing to cheat on a diet from or to fall off the wagon from, right? So the 80-20 rule is where 80% of your foods are going to be whole foods. So lean meats, proteins, nuts, legumes, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, things like that, 80% of the time. 80% of the time just means 80% of your calories. When you know your fat loss calories, 80% of them are going to come from these foods. 20% of the foods are going to come from your fun foods. Maybe you want a glass of wine. Maybe you want some candy. Or if you're like me, you love ice cream, or cookies. Chocolate chip cookies are like one of my favorite things. This is how you fit it in without ever, abandoning the very things that are getting you fit. All right. So 20% of your fun foods. This way you don't feel restricted and binge later, but yet you're still within your calorie deficit and it's safe. That's the idea. Now, the final step of this is to track your food 7 days a week and not just the weekends. Now, many people I've heard over the last 20 years, like, tracking my food, that I don't want to become obsessed with food. Well, let me just tell you, you're probably already obsessed with food because you don't have a clue how much you should be eating and you're obsessed with the scale or your weight. So I'm going to help you the same way as, like, if you're trying to get out of debt, are you obsessed with money if you're just simply making sure you've got enough money in your bank account before you buy a coat or before you buy some shoes? No, you're not obsessed with it. You're making sure you've got enough to cover the expense. That's all tracking your food is. We're not counting calories. We're not counting macros. We're simply checking to make sure that our macro balance is good and making sure that we're not spending more calories than what we have adequately need for each day, okay? So if you're going to eat well Monday through Friday, but you go off the rails on the weekend, you can entirely erase your calorie deficit. I've seen it for years, and you don't want to do that. A consistent approach is going to win every single time. And what makes you more consistent? Flexibility and tracking. So as an example, one of my clients, Sarah, she was stuck on the 1,200 calorie cycle, losing weight fast, then binging and regaining it, okay? When she switched over to this sustainable method, she lost more than 20 pounds and kept it off without starving herself, okay? So the idea is that you might be thinking like, well, I don't want to eat more than 1,200 because if I'm not losing now, I won't lose. I promise you, you will lose when you're taking in the right amount of calories for what your goal is and for what your activity level is. Now, if you want to learn more about that, well, how do I know what activity level and how do I really make sure? Then you can shoot me a DM and let's chat a little bit about what your goals and your struggles are, and we'll figure out if my Joyfully Fit 365 system is a good fit for you. But in the meantime, what I would recommend you doing is just comment blueprint below, or you can also click the link in the description, and I will send you over my fat loss blueprint calculator, which is going to give you your fat loss calories and it's going to give you your macros. So that way you know exactly where to start. Now, is that the end all be all? Absolutely not. If it was the end all be all, then everybody who knew their calories would never ever gain weight and they would always lose it. It's not what happens. So you're going to see a really cool video when you do this calculation that's going to give you some of the insights of my 20 years of professional fitness coaching. So if you're done with the 1,200 calorie struggle and you want a step-by-step plan for eating the right amount and losing fat without starving, I've got you. That's what that calculator is for. Drop the word blueprint below and I'll send you that fat loss calculation. and you can start it today. It's super, super simple. It literally takes like 30 seconds. Input your height, your weight, a few other things, gender and what have you. It's going to spit out your exact numbers for you, and you're going to have those, including your macros. It's going to be a great, great place to get started so that you're not guessing or feeling around in the dark hoping that you're close to where your calories and your macros should be. So if you found this helpful, do me a favor and tag a friend or share this with a friend who might need to hear this. Even if you don't know who that friend might be, I guarantee you've got somebody on your Facebook or your email, somebody that needs to hear this so that they're not struggling and they can finally actually get the right amount of calories and understand what causes fat loss sustainably. So before I go, tell me in the comments which part of today's training for you was the biggest eye-opener. The metabolism slowdown, or was it more of the binge cycle, or the real fat loss numbers maybe, or was it more about the flexibility? So I'll be back with more fat loss tips. I'm going to be showing up pretty regularly, as you guys might have seen recently. In the meantime, again, just drop the word blueprint in the comments below. Let's get you set up with a sustainable plan and your numbers to at least get you started the right way. Let me know, do you have any comments, any questions, anything that you want me to cover? Drop those below in the comments and I will chat with you guys very soon. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on